recording to the cloud now.
All right.
Do you want us to record ourselves in the minutes?
Yes, of course, please. Can we start? Cesar, can you do the regular? This is the day and what are we doing? Because we don't have we do have the agenda, but we just need to type it.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So welcome everybody. So the purpose of the call, as a follow-up from the email thread that started a couple of months ago, is basically to touch bases how, with all the new resources that we have in both documentation and the progress that the TCK has been having in the past month, is to first touch bases where we are and what are the things that we can put for the community to contribute that will have a amplified impact on the delivery that is that is being on progress for the Jakarta EE9 release. We have a lot of resources right now, as in the email thread where it's stated. I think we can add it here on the meeting notes also. What I recall, Ed create a wiki page on the GitHub repo. Scott created a great article that has been published already on the past mailing list blast that was sent from Eclipse Foundation, and I recall that a couple months ago also when we were doing the migration for the namespace with Scott, we also delivered a session that started to shape what we currently have in terms of how people from the open source side of the fence that haven't got any interaction so far with TCK, but may be interesting to contribute, how can they bootstrap that, and most important, how we drive that effort in the direction that is going to be beneficial for the release. That's like the overall, sorry if I overworded too much the introduction, but that is like the summary for all of those that are listening to the recording and are not in context about what has happened in the mailing list so far, because the TCK mailing list has had this discussion already.
That's great, actually. Go ahead, Scott, go ahead.
Just to throw it out there, we're up to 91 members on the TCK, platform TCK mailing list now. I think we were around 80 maybe a week or two ago. So
a month ago we were 80, and then
80,
we were
a month ago, okay.
Yes, we were tracking, and I said, let's track this as we make a little bit of healthy noise, and now it's more than another 10, which is huge win. Every subscriber is a win because it says, hey, I want to know about this. I want to say, like in the Friends of Jakarta of last month, David, that is here, sent a really good summary of the TCK, and we should be adding that to the wiki. So I'm going to copy paste in the minutes because he sent it to the community forum or the TCK forum and the community, and then we just need to add it into the wiki because that is part of that is part of the documentation. So we'll do that. And David, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, are you just signing me up for work now? I just joined and already have action items.
I will add that. I will add that. And then you can, every minute counts. So start, contributing. And Lucas, it's great seeing you here. Well, just the name.
Oh, sorry, there's a bit mess in my room right now. So.
That's okay. Do you pronounce your name Lucas or Lukash?
It's Lukash, but I pronounce it as Lucas. It's more friendly for foreigners.
Yeah, but Lukash is not difficult, so I'll go with how it's actually pronounced. Did I get close, Lukash?
Yeah.
Awesome. So do we have an agenda?
Yes.
Yes, if you want, I can share that here so we can all check.
Here. Sorry.
The link is in the chat.
He joined later.
Yeah,
Can someone do that?
I was not responsibly on time.
I didn't know that about Zoom chat. I guess I never see
it's
what
not-
was posted to the chat before I joined the Zoom.
Yes,
Yeah.
it doesn't have a good user experience on that level.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am sharing my screen. I don't know if you're able to see the meeting notes.
I do.
Yeah.
Can you
Awesome.
make it a little bit larger, please?
Sure, sure. There you go.
I have added the repo in this, the Jakarta EE, the TCK repo to here as a fix for the agenda. And we have an issue with forking the repo and being able to contribute PRs, at least some of us that are not committers. And that has to do with the properties that are placed on the repo itself. I think we need to still protect the health of the repo, but we need to lower the barrier to entry, because I can send issues, but I cannot send PRs. And that is extremely rare, because on all other specifications, I am able to send PRs if I see something that I want to fix, like non-code, like grammar or something, but not in this one. So FYI, and that was already discussed in the TCK thread with Scott. It has been amazing at searching stuff.
Okay.
So is there, I mean, other than, so your account is not, there's something going wrong there, but for, for other non-committers, is there an Eclipse level setting to allow non-committers to create pull requests for a wiki? I was under the impression that GitHub wikis just don't support pull requests at all.
Yes,
They
that's
don't.
my
Sure.
that's my understanding too. Right.
We tried.
Yeah, they're unfortunately like, it's so crazy because you would think that you would protect coding and make the ability for people to help out with documentation like even easier, even a lower bar. but no, you can't contribute to the documentation in a wiki unless you have write access to the repo. There's no PR concept, unfortunately.
So I
But we can
discovered,
use another wiki, right? So I remember that for the last release of Jakarta, we used Eclipse wiki. It's not really convenient thing, but still possible to use.
but we don't want that, and you're correct.
Well,
We did that as a shortcut. Let me finish on this. I discovered this when I was working with the Jakarta one in Espanol, because the committee is writing the documentation that we need to add to the wiki itself under Spanish, so the next iteration of the committee volunteers can just own it and help the documentation. We tried everything, and that was like 3 months ago. We tried everything and we couldn't get around it. And because of my co-profile, I didn't realize this was the issue until trying to help that volunteer, those 5 volunteers do it. And it was so frustrating. We need to fix it by pushing a bug and dedicating it to Chris, and then making sure that this will affect every project under the Eclipse Foundation, the 375. We need to do this.
Okay.
So the simple thing that I've done in the past is don't use the wiki and just put the docs in the repo, because ultimately GitHub will show them as Markdown or ASCII doc, regardless of where it is in your repo. So if you have a section of your repo kind of dedicated to, documentation, even if it's not like user documentation, could be developer documentation, it does work. Like when we were doing the namespace stuff, I made a namespace section under the platform repo, and we got a lot of contributions to that. But none of that would have been possible if it had been in the wiki section of the platform project, because no one could submit PRs to that.
As a follow-up of that, could we navigate the option to add a wiki folder, and we can just migrate the 19 articles that we have to that folder in the format and just have it there, so we officialize that?
Yeah, I mean, like basically the wiki is still backed by a GitHub repo, and you can check it out. So basically, the repo of the project, you add .wiki before .git, and you will get the wiki itself as a Git repo.
But you don't
So
get the
like,
option to create PRs, right?
right, you don't get the option to create PRs, but you can clone it as a repo. So it doesn't really make it, you know, you still can't submit PRs, which is why you basically, that information is useful so you can clone the repo, get all the revisions out, merge those revisions into some other repo which does allow PRs, and then you can continue from there.
Okay, what other things about? And welcome, Hilmer, by the way.
He can't seem to connect his audio. I'm not sure he can listen. I'm for whatever gets contributions. What about using the GitHub IO pages? You know, or is
Sorry,
that just too complicated?
Sorry,
That works
using
too.
The what?
GitHub IO pages.
Oh, okay.
Those,
Yeah,
you know, because basically
produce
those are
the
backed
same.
by a repo. Yeah, go
Exactly. You produce the same content. It's where do you, you know, that for me, the nice thing about that is it gives you a finished form that you can look
Yeah,
at.
I like that. Do we have that set up for the project already?
I think so, yes. It's
So
in
we just need to use it.
branch.
Yeah, so
there's a couple ways to do that, right? You could just edit directly in the branch. In Glassfish, in the Glassfish project, they have a docs folder, and that whole thing gets generated every time somebody commits to it. So, and that might be a special case because they got a lot of user guide documents that need to get built from ASCII doc.
right.
We probably don't have that here yet.
Good problem to have.
Although the user guides could be put in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
I like the finished look of the, you know, that you can apply a template and you can modify the template and make it look however you want.
Yeah. Yeah, GitHub pages also support having a directory in your master repo. So there's two forms that you can use them. You can use a GitHub pages thing, and you can also have a directory in your master repo. If we had a directory in the master repo, that might make it easier for what you just said, Ed, which would be to have the user guides show up, because they could be somehow under that. Like there could be a docs directory or something like that. There already is a docs directory, but well, yeah. So we could make the docs directory be the online GitHub pages thing, and that way, like all the materials from the TCK could be available online. You know what I mean? Not just in his.
would be amazing. That would be amazing. So then only contributors can do that. What is the ETA for that? If we start, not today because it's the end of the day for many, but a few of us that are in the US, what would be the ETA that we can on that transition?
Well, so it sort of sounds like you can check out the wiki content and then just transfer it into the GH pages branch, and it would probably, you know, figure out where to put it, and then it can probably just be there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then in the branch, people can submit PRs for that.
Are there any issues with that being directly in the platform TCK repo with the EE9 development life cycle? At some point, EE9 finishes, and we go on to EE10 or something, and we want to focus on EE10. But meanwhile, there's all these new users that want to ask and get things answered for EE9 after. Like, for that reason, does it need to be a separate repo so that it can have its own life cycle that's not really bound to any particular version? Or is it really just a compromise that we make, and we would get enough we would get enough benefit out of it that it's okay?
Well,
So I think you can organize the content amongst, across releases. Just create a release, we could create the current content, if it's specific to Jakarta EE9, it could be under a, EE9 or just 9 directory and everything under that.
Yeah,
I
well,
have,
just hold on. I want to. So Scott, the GitHub Pages branch is typically completely different layout than the master branch, and so therefore it feels like you have another repo in there in a branch called GitHub Pages. I always found that to be kind of a little awkward myself personally, because I don't really think, I think of Git with like all branches lead to one canonical branch, right? But that's not how the GitHub Pages is. Like, yeah, it might as well be a completely different repo.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, I don't know that I particularly enjoy that myself, but it's effectively like having a different repo.
So some projects do have a separate repo. I mean, I suppose we certainly could consider that. I was just thinking, as an expedient, you don't need it now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that was a good shout out. That was a very pragmatic suggestion. It's very actionable immediately. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Do I create the issue for that, so we can track that? And I think in terms of ETA, is, as Ed mentioned, it's not a 2 days task.
Yeah, no one has any issues that they've stated. Against that. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
David, can you paste in the canonical the link for the wiki repository? Thanks.
I'll grab it and
you know what I like about what Ed said is that it can work right now, but we can organize as a main branch for TCK, and then there will be something that is only for EE9, because as we just sent a note, there are some applications, some specifications that pass the vote, but then we need to make immediately a review because there are some things that we missed, and that needs to be documented because it's part of the review process, and it will only be acceptable in EE9. 10, we must fix everything before it goes live because continued errors or oversights cannot be a part of the new features. That will be like cementing bad form and habits. So really good call out, Ed.
Do we want, once we transfer this, I mean, I guess we should probably put something on the wiki that says don't make edits to this anymore, start using the GH Pages.
I think it's a transition. I don't know how quickly we can transition everything over, but as each page is transferred over, we should link to the new location, and then say leave a note there that everything's moved over. I think that would probably be the most friendly.
We can say deprecated or something that allows for it to be dead, not looked at, and you can just go and revert or revert to someone else.
Once we get the content migrated over, we could replace all the contents in the wiki with just a simple look here. I know I have some script somewhere that will put the history in the new repo, like you pick a directory and I used it. I cannot remember where I put it. I just did a search in the spot that I would normally look. If we don't care about history, it's easy. You just obviously copy the content over. If we want the history, it is possible. I forgot how.
I think that, the wiki history will still be there. And and at the very end, it became whatever we updated it to and left the message saying, go to the new location. But I guess all the current history stays behind. We don't delete the history. So it's kind of available. It just doesn't move over. I haven't seen very much. I did get a copy of it and I didn't see very much in the history. When I looked, but I didn't look at everything, I guess. But
yeah, I'm just doing a search right now to see if I can refresh my memory enough to figure out how this works.
While you do that, Humor, do you write your name on the agenda yet? And hi, Latino?
No, I haven't because I just was listening. Let me I take the
I just shared the link on the
yeah.
chat
I thanks, Cesar. I'm going to do that right now.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, Helmer.
Okay. Okay, so I think we have a plan of action for the wiki and what it was already identified. I see. So I see. I don't know who pays this part, but going back to the to the agenda objectives. Okay, we are ironing how the information that would produce more knowledge among the community is being set now in this approach of GitHub pages. In terms of where we are and what will be the primary drive that we would like to give to the community to help and make the mark for Jakarta EE9. I don't know who can give us those two topics.
I sort of missed what you said, Derek, because I was with my nose buried in like bash commands.
No worries. I think Amelia, did you paste all these here?
Yes,
Because
I did.
yeah,
Mhm.
because when we started the call, just for the sake of timing, to have clear the objectives of the call, first was to know where we are at this point with the TCK effort. That involved all the discussion that have happening on the mailing list, being the documentation one of those. If there is other topic related to where we are at this point, I think it will be useful to bring context to the people that is seeing this video for the first time and joining also the live call. And then now that we have this documentation that is going to be available in these GitHub pages about the technical, how do you fork the repo, how do you build the prerequisites, the next question that I, as an example of coming from the community, being the first time seeing the TCK repo is, okay, how can I help? What will be my next step? But in a way that is going to be meaningful to and target to the Jakarta E9 release. What will be that epics, that targets that we can put in front of the community to say, okay, you want to contribute, we have these three things that it doesn't matter if you just send one PR, that definitely is going to help us to move forward the Jakarta E9 release.
I have a response to that, but I'm certainly open for all those ideas. I'm thinking that as far as development tasks for EE9, we're really at the end. My thoughts were doing exactly what you just said, but more for post EE9. And like scaling up for what comes after EE9 and participating in the discussion about what the TCK should do for EE10, those kinds of things, but also scaling up for that. In terms of EE9 itself, though, are there any remaining things that we should look for community help on? I don't. What do others think about that? Not to get pulled, not to be controlled by the development cycle or the schedule. I mean, sorry, the remaining schedule.
Okay, so you're talking about being very focused on what currently is, right?
I think the idea was, okay, what ideas do we have for building the community around EE9 and TCK? Is that what you suggested, Cesar?
Yes, that's right. We have people that is joining for the first time, so they may want to, after setting up everything, following Ed's and your documentation and all what it is currently up on the repo. The next question obviously is, okay, how can I help now that I have all the tools set locally?
I think aside from the documentation, I will interject here. I think aside from the documentation, we need the Jakarta media to push every week or every 2 weeks. I would say be very aggressive on this and push messages that call out to Jakartis who are interested in working on the EE9. We don't have the release date yet, but it might be November, right? And what we need is public awareness. It doesn't really matter how much we write in the documentation if the media of the project itself doesn't help push this information. We can be 9 people in this call and we can work every single day on getting the ones that we known, but we have 5 continents, well, 7 if you count, like differently. And we have people that cares about Java EE, do not even know that it has been rebranded to Jakarta EE, and we need to reach those. If we need to pay for it to get the TCK out and say, the TCK is open, no longer you need to pay and negotiate for a year or 2 to get the access. As a company, as a user, you can contribute. This will increase everything. So, in anything we do, we need media help, social media help. And I will just remind everyone, we have not publicized it yet, but in the marketing side, there is the collateral repo that has been created exactly for this request. The request can be sent by anyone all over the world. Currently it has 2 tickets, one from Turkey and one from France, submitting 2 different designs, and we need to do the same. There should be no private mailing list, no private access to community. We need to act as we didn't have access to the private mailing lists. We need to use what we have. There is a tool, and I will add it here. There is a repo that was created specifically for this. When we think about reaching those newcomers, we need to use the media. And the media is right now managed completely by the Eclipse hire people under Jakarta. There are 4.5 people hired, so we need to do this.
Let's get it back on topic just a little bit. So if we want to get people involved with the TCK, at least one of the first things that's very difficult is that, it's a huge beast and you don't even know where to start on that thing. And, having any kind of high level view of what the TCK, how it's built, or, just what its layout is, or, if that's really important, because the size of it is so large that it will intimidate anybody from contributing or speaking about it. And most likely when, we do want to do major changes to it in Jakarta EE10, as Scott was talking about, almost nobody would be able to participate in that conversation because they don't have enough confidence about how the thing is put together to make suggestions on how it could be improved. So it'll most likely be a bunch of people asking Scott questions, and Scott Alwyn and the other people who happen to know a lot about it. So if we actually want people to be able to participate in the how do we improve the TCK conversation in 10, we need to take advantage of the time now to get them familiar with the TCK while it's not being aggressively changed.
David,
at least that's my opinion. Go ahead.
Can I add a little bit here? And
Sure.
Maybe it's a question, I don't know yet, right? My vision here is that for Jakarta EE10, we would need to move TCKs out of the bigger Jakarta TCK repository to individual projects, the similar way as it was done with Jason Biden, for instance, right? So they won't be, or they will be a TCK project, the bigger one, but some of standalone TCKs will be moved out of it, and it will become smaller because of that, right? So in this case, do we really need to attract people to the bigger Jakarta TCK repository, which has a lot of disadvantages. It's big, it's complicated to understand, it's complicated to run because it takes a lot of time, right? And people may not like it. What if we attract people not by saying that, hey folks, you should work on that big Jakarta EE TCK project, but we've try to extract the TCKs for your project from there and move it out. Because I guess that this is what we are, or okay, I'm saying we now, but maybe it's my personal opinion, we should target to, we should go towards.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't personally have any idea where to start or look with moving it out. So I would have to understand the TCK enough to know what moving it out would mean in terms of actual steps that I would need to carry out.
Yeah, and we should start talking about it, and possibly sooner better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have a timeline really, but at some point we might end up with an EE10 timeline, and the timeline to make this change may take longer than the EE10 release allows for. So maybe it's incremental work. I don't know. Or maybe EE10 schedule allows for the rework. I don't know. But certainly it all needs to be discussed anyways. You know, the idea of what it would mean and how it would be done. And it's
right.
I agree. I guess it's up to the projects who want to do that, who want to make TCK work easier.
Right.
Then they definitely have to do it, because for your API, having TCK in the same repository is a huge advantage, because you make a change and you run all your tests, all your TCK tests as part of your build, right? So you immediately test that everything is okay. Currently, this is not really possible. It's complicated to do, right?
Yeah.
does
that? Go ahead, Scott.
Does that mean that we keep the platform level tests that are now moved into the standalone TCK? We talked about that last spring, maybe it was, and it seemed like there was different opinions about whether we would keep those tests or not. If we don't keep the platform level tests, then we might, that might be a lot of testing that we lose, which would be, sad. But to do platform level testing in each spec is a big undertaking. I guess is one question whether that is something that the specs want to do, and then the discussion about losing those tests or not.
I don't think we can lose them. The platform requires it, so somehow they have to feed into the platform TCK. That's one of the problems I think needs to get solved. Perhaps migrating this all to a Maven or Gradle kind of build will help solve that problem. But there's an investment there.
But
Right,
how? But let me go in here, and this is awesome. This is a great conversation, because now we're talking about each individual spec. How is that, if everyone does something different, how will that affect the budget that is currently dedicated to running the TCK? We need to allocate the budget.
Not related. It's not related.
Yeah, they're kind of independent, but I guess it seems to me there's some first level work, which is getting people to be able to use the TCKs as they exist, and that's kind of really only something vendors want to do. Then there's this whole project about how do we refactor the TCKs so that the API projects have direct sort of access to their own TCKs. And it's that second project that's got the complexities of having to be able to feed back into the platform TCK. Anyway, so do we think people, there's a lot of people on this call that I don't know. Well, maybe there were, I thought there were some. Anyway, do people feel like they can, there's material available that they could grab a TCK, grab a compatible implementation and actually run it? And then maybe work with the TCK test themselves?
Let's
think that
ask
there's probably
Rodrigo
not
Miguel
enough.
there. Hey guys, you're here, Jakartese. Tell us, what do you think about the question?
I honestly don't know. I never try. I can try. I can give some feedback. I'm glad to help. Well, anyway, I can try. Not a problem.
Yeah, the harness is different for each implementation. For example, like we wrote, we have a really old wrapper around the TCK harness from the Geronimo days that we're still using. It's all written in Groovy and very Mavenized, and you run the TCK tests via Maven. And but it's a, you know, it's completely different than how you run the TCK tests for Glassfish, even though it's the same test. This is just, you know, you had to, because you had to do some things as an implementer. You got to prepare your TSJTE file and do stuff like that. So this setup basically like prepares all that garbage. So yeah, getting people to run it in any mechanism is one thing. Like how do you debug a test and how do you run a test? You know, those are all important topics. I did want to ask Dimitri a question, and I guess the question was, would you be willing to do some sort of like walkthrough for us on one of these calls that are recorded of how you split the TCK tests out into their own separate repo, so that other people at least had some steps and some insight on what you did?
That would be great.
David, definitely. But it was not me who did that, right? And
okay.
I will ask Andy Gibbert, who's done that for JSON binding. And
okay.
he actually already presented it on one of the meetings. I don't remember.
Was it recorded?
It was a steering meeting or platform meeting, but on some our committees, right? And we had a nice discussion after his presentation. So
was it recorded?
I don't think it's been recorded, David.
Okay.
So I'll ask him again.
Okay.
And
he has a pull request too, just to mention that quickly, that can be viewed.
Okay. And then the second question is, Ed was saying the challenge is getting the tests back. So did he just copy the tests away and leave the old tests there? Now we have two copies of the JSONB tests?
Yes. We currently have two copies of tests. One is in CTS and another one in JSON binding repository.
Oh.
And we agreed that the source of truth is CTS.
What is that? Wait, which CTS? CTS means what now?
Jakarta EE TCK repository.
Platform TCK.
Platform TCK, right? So it was done as a POC, right?
Right.
And then we go forward with a decision that it's actually okay to extract TCKs from Jakarta EE TCK repository and move it to the local repositories. Then for JSONB, it's kind of already done, right? It can be used as a sample project, for others who want to do the same, right?
Yeah, we just need to figure out how
Yes.
Ed was saying, does it.
But we didn't want to add any complicity in a Jakarta EE9 timeframe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I said that, hey, okay, we just done it, right? But we use it for local builds and that's it. We don't use it for certification, right?
Okay.
And for certification, where are the old tests the same test basically. We didn't change TCK in Jakarta EE TCK repository.
Okay. Well, that was pragmatic. I mean, at least you got the experience to know if that extracted TCK can function.
They do.
Those
No, that's
tests-
good. I'm saying that's what you learned, right? So you got the experience to go, okay, this is how it might look.
So then we're talking about the proof of concept. Dimitri, let me clarify here.
Sort of.
Well,
So
let's get Scott a question in there. I think
I need to ask because Rodrigo is willing to try this. So it means that Rodrigo will help us run a proof of concept on his own and a small branch. Is that what I understand? So Dimitri, you know someone, I think it was Andy, you said, that
Yes.
did the proof of concept. You will find out if he can record and share it with the TCK community so that we can add it into the Jakarta YouTube list. But Rodrigo, do you understand? You have much flexibility to try anything as a proof of concept. There are no failures because we're just discovering this.
Yeah, no. I'm fine to try. I just need some directions on how to start, and then I can try. If there is this recording of this other meeting or something that I could use as a starting point, then that's great.
All right.
Is this meeting going to be recurrent?
I think we should make it recurrent for the time being, but Fridays is a bad day. This was just because we didn't want to not start September with this call.
I think actually Fridays are fine because like the beginning of the week is filled with garbage.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that
Dimitri
was
said
going to
he
be my
wanted to
comment.
hear.
I just said that instead of going to a pub with folks, I'm just and talking with you, which is good too, right? So
Yeah. We can have a beer as well.
Yeah, well, it's too
It
early.
is Friday.
Do you think that having like a hackathon or something like that, promoting that kind of things, how much do you think Rodrigo or Hilmer, how much the community will be interested to join? Because there is already a lot of documentation in the wiki, but you are right, Rodrigo. Having that kind of, okay, we are gonna go this, and you make questions and have this feedback and listen other people's question at the same time on a call is going to reduce way better the interaction that will take 15 days in a mailing list if we want to bootstrap something. What do you think?
who are you asking?
Rodrigo.
I asked it to Rodrigo and Hilmer because they are the first time I think they are seeing all these topics. So having the feedback from them, I think is really valuable.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I'm gonna take a look on the wiki. So I saw David putting the meeting on Twitter. I joined, see how could I help. There's a lot of information here for sure, and TCK, I'm sure it's one of the most complicated parts of the whole ecosystem.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so I don't know if Humor, how is his timing as well, but maybe we can join forces and try something together if it's available. And
Are you, so, Rodrigo? Are you writing the Jakarta EE app server from scratch?
No.
Okay.
Just a community guy who wants to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So let me make sure to introduce, because I think Ed said I do not know many people in this call. Let me just quickly say, Rodrigo comes from the New York's Jack. He's one of the people involved in the organization, and he's a user. So it's just great. And then Hilmer comes from the Colombia Medellin Jack, and he's also a user. So we want them, their communities, to know exactly what's what, because both of them, Rodrigo is from Brazil, but he lives in New York. We need the Latin Armada, that is what I call, to be informed so that they spread. They are connected with the Spanish community in every country that speaks Spanish. And many in Brazil do speak Spanish. So this is so important that the two of you join, and this call is recorded. So thank you so much to the two of you and everyone here, but especially you two. This is exactly what we need.
Hey, thank you for joining.
And if we're talking about hackathon, thanks for joining. If we're talking about hackathon, if we convince Eclipse Foundation to give some budget as the prizes, then I believe that hackathon will be very successful.
It's not that if we convince. The budget is decided by the working group. The Eclipse Foundation has no vote. This is decided by the steering committee.
What budget would we need though?
Yeah, that was my question. Why would we need budget for?
For prizes. So we do hackathon
okay.
and we select the best solution, right? And they just give a prize to people who developed that solution.
You know what I'm thinking? I think a Jakarta hoodie. No one has it because it's very hard. We can create one, and
That's
it would be
a prize.
Yeah, that is like it costs $25. We can create
and shipping. Right.
That would be about
$50.
Global pandemic makes it to 50. It's very expensive. I think we should stop that for now and just make it like lower barrier. And at the end of next year, maybe.
So if we can get it down to just shipping, it's fine. So we have shirts, but to make hoodies, then you need a new printing template, which is at least $200.
300.
Whatever. You need the printer to make the printer template. So there's an investment of a few $100s just for the printing template. Then to print a batch of shirts or hoodies, you can't print one. You're gonna have to print at least 100 or 50. And so, we're looking at about $1,000 that we would need to do that. And that wouldn't include shipping.
Yeah. But I think we can do this next year. We can say, we can add Excel sheets and add the contributors that are—
We have shirts this year.
And move on, because this year is really hard to ship anything. We live in Los Angeles, David and I, and it's really hard. Nothing is going through global, and we cannot exclude people and contributors that are outside of the United States. We need to be equal and fair, and that means next year is a little bit simpler, hopefully.
I will change the term. Thank you, Dimitri, for the, because I realized that what I should say was, and now seeing all the context, maybe a hands-on lab that doesn't have a price involved, that therefore will not require budget. In terms of practice, to be pragmatic and don't depend on budget approval, I will rename my brainstorm idea from hackathon to hands-on lab or a workshop. The thing is that the people who will join is because they want not just to want the PlayStation, but actually to as Rodrigo was saying, right? I think Hilmer was going to say something, so go ahead, Hilmer. You're mute, by the way.
Yes, I'm trying to find the way to unmute myself. I had to comment. One of the biggest constraints in Latin America is the English. So that is the reason some people don't join this kind of activity or this kind of program. So we need to try to do something there in this way. And about the thing that Cesar was talking about the hackathon or the workshop. We say hackathon or half day because it's the name is most popular, but our workshop. But I don't know if in quarantine it's a good idea to have workshop, because I think people lost in their houses. So we have run maybe 5 or more half days or workshop in one day from 6 or more hours, and people enjoy the activity. But I don't know it's a good idea to run a workshop now. I attended a workshop for New York Java SIG, maybe 2 weeks ago. I tried to follow the instruction, but I think it's very hard to explain, to give instruction online. So the idea is very good, but maybe we need to try to see it's a good idea to run an online workshop.
So Hilmer, you said English, Spanish. So now we talk about translations, which is one of the main, super important. We found a way for the wiki to be documented. And I think you missed that part, but you will rehear the recording. I wonder, because we have Rodrigo speaks Portuguese and we have South Java in Brazil. And I wonder if you could lead, not for you to translate, but actually circle around and help those that are interested, that already speak English, help translate what is will currently come out in the documentation. Because if we don't translate, we don't lower the bar for the TCK, and we need to fix that. And it needs to happen in every language. But you're here, and you know, I can contact the South Java and say, hey, watch this video and help us translate. And I know many will jump and say, I will love it. I think we can do translation badges for Jakarta to say, thank you, Jakarta, you have earned your 5th PR or whatever else. But that is just a fun thing to say thank you, because swag is complicated. On the other side, for the Hacker Garden, comments.
Yeah, I was gonna ask this, if the TCK documentation is translated to Portuguese and Spanish, because I think the first thing we need to do is to give access to people so they can
Correct.
work. We don't need to make the language a barrier.
Yeah, of course not. And we need to find, so now we have Jakartis that are in France, in Turkey, in South Africa. We have Jakartis that are on it. Now we have the repo that can pull them in. We don't have still a marketing or collateral mailing list that is public, but that is a work in progress. That will happen very soon. And we will use that forum for this kind of conversations, because translation is as important as documentation and tooling, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So a big thing for me, I just want to get this in. The big thing for me is that it helps me tremendously. Like what would be great for me, and I've been working with the TCK, but only from a perspective of running it. I've never worked with the TCK in the perspective of building it. You know, like I don't know what's involved in making it the final product that I've worked with in the past. And so like, it would be super helpful for me personally if there would be some kind of overview session. We could get together and someone could go, I'm going to clone the TCK, and then I'm going to walk through the directories and just give you an idea of what they are. Then I'm going to build the TCK. I'm going to show you where to look for the final built TCK. And if you wanted to add a test, here's how you would do it. Like that would be super, super useful, because, you know, if I'm a developer on a new spec project and I have a cool idea and someone goes, that's a cool idea, but you need to write a test, I would need that video. The one that goes, there's the TCK, here's how you download it. Let's walk through the basic directory structure. Here's how you build it. There's the built TCK. Here's how you add a test, and now we build it again, and you know, there's the result. I would need that personally for me to be effective on any spec project.
Can you write that out? I think that's like really, really good.
This is recorded, so you know it's there.
Yeah,
but
minutes.
But
I have a question.
what do people think? Wait, what do people think about that before we move off the topic on new topics?
I added it to the end of the minutes, at least what I thought you were saying. So it is in the minutes. Maybe I should put your name next to it.
Terrible idea.
Now you're the owner.
I am +1 on that one, actually, but you know, I'm biased.
Actually, David, this reminded me a day when I was asked to fix a bug in the Glassfish 3, and the bug was in the TCK. At that time, we had a short article which mentioned all the required steps one has to do to run and debug one failing test. Interesting part that at that time was that TCKs as such were in subversion and organized within some sort of modules or something like that. So one didn't have to check out all the sources, but only those he was interested in.
Okay.
So maybe Git has some notion of Git submodules or something. So maybe this could be a way how to organize the repo for the future. Maybe something someone could investigate, because I have no time to do that. And
Do you know how to add a test if you had to add a test right now?
Sorry?
I was asking Lucas, if you had to add a test, would you know how to do it?
Right now, I would find a way how to do it, definitely. But
Okay.
I didn't try that, so.
Right. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess that's my point. Is that you would have to figure it out,
Yeah.
right? And you have some advantage of having worked with it for a while. So
I was using it just as a user, not as a developer, right?
Yeah. Not as a developer of the TCK. Yeah. Yeah, and so I guess that's the kind of the statement. I think that we don't have a lot of, I mean, I don't know how much documentation is there. The problem with documentation to me is that if there's like too much documentation, I feel like I'll never be able to read it all, and then I never start. And if there's not enough documentation there, then I go, this is not enough to be effective. I'm super picky. I'm like impossible to make happy, but I like it. I like videos where people kind of walk through stuff because it keeps moving, right?
So let me interject here, and I'm sorry to stop, David. We need to end on time at 10 o'clock. And my recommendation is for us to keep this call for the rest of September, 9 in the morning on Fridays. We can do, we can do like live, we will do it a recording. And is that okay? Say no right now if you are against it. Are we okay to have this every week on Friday for September only?
Do
see how we do.
Do we want to vary the times so other time zones could join?
What do you mean by that?
I know, if someone who maybe, it's late, it's too late now, so maybe start earlier sometimes.
8 in the morning. We make 2 at 9 and 2 at 8.
I mean, at some point, it's going to be too early or too late for everybody. But
yeah, well, if you're in like the China, Japan, Australia time, it's already Saturday.
Yeah, so it's impossible.
So it's not good for those people at all in any time today. So it's basically only U.S., Europe who could possibly attend if we have it on Friday.
So we need our peeps from Europe and that side of the world to tell us. Do you want us to do 2 at 8 in the morning and 2 at 9, or 9 o'clock is okay? Silence doesn't mean that you agree. Let's keep it to 9.
I'm okay with the current time.
All right. Is there someone who
I'm okay too.
Is there someone who would be willing to do at least some of the thing that we just discussed? Like, I'm gonna clone the repo and I'm gonna build it. Here's where the TCKs are once you build it. At least that much. Excuse me?
Ed did it. He cloned
it. Is it recorded?
It is not recorded, but it's in the chat minutes.
It's in the wiki.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we could get a recording of it. So basically, like, a recording of, I'm going to clone it in front of you. I'm going to walk you through the directory structure so you can understand what's there. Here's how you build it. And then here's the built TCK. Like, that would be good. The whole adding TCK tests could be something we do later.
David, it would be great. I think someone from TCK project needs to do it. So possibly Scott, possibly some folks from IDC. I don't think that other people on this call will be able to help there.
Yeah. I'm time constrained myself.
Very. You're a bottleneck guy, so you don't have to prepare anything. You could actually just do it live in front of us ad hoc.
Yep.
Okay, so let's keep. Go ahead.
If you'd be willing to just wing it, that gets the information out there, and somebody else can prepare a more polished version of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think could just do something basic, like you said, not build it, but like, download the TCK and run some TCK tests with Glassfish. And I've been doing that with Podman because of some issues. Docker doesn't run on my machine, but Podman does. But yeah, I mean, it's probably, could do that. Yep.
Running the TCK is a totally separate problem, right? So,
yeah,
it's understanding the TCK itself.
Yeah.
And how, like I say, if there's someone who would be willing to show us how to build it.
Could do that too. Yeah, could do the same for building.
Can we, and Scott, do you think we can do that next Friday?
I don't know yet, but maybe.
Trying, failing fast.
I mean, it's easy to build it. I just to do something on top of building it. I'm not sure what else we're going to do for next Friday. But I could certainly show you how to set it up and do a build. It takes it's just a few minutes to show how to set up and do the build, and then 2 hours later or an hour later or whatever it is, it's it's built. But
okay, well, that would be great. I mean, that would be something to learn, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you would have have it built in advance. You can check it out and clone it into one directory, and then do like they do in the cooking shows, and like you put it in the oven, and then you walk over to a different oven, and you pull out the cooked turkey.
Yep.
Sounds good. So let's do this. To everyone who has tasks here, please submit the Git issues to the TCK repo that is in these minutes, so that we get a follow-up in all the tasks that we are going to implement. So Rodrigo, you have some questions, follow a Git issue, just submit it, and then you will get the answers. And we will have this call every Friday for the rest of September to see how we do and how much we get forward. Cesar, thank you for recording it. Can you please submit to the collateral repo the video and ask for the Jakarta EE TCK channel list to be created, and this to be the first video added. And then I will ask Tanya via the same repo to create a drive folder in the drive for Jakarta EE, a folder that says TCK, so that this minute that is currently under photos in Jakarta will be moved there for the future calls. Anything else? Because we have so much work to do. This is just the beginning, and it's super fun. Nothing. Let's go. Okay, everyone.
See you next week.
Enjoy your weekend and enjoy Monday. Yeah, those who are in the United States, let's enjoy Monday. We have PTO.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kisses, everyone.
That weekend.
Have a nice weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
Kisses, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.